on. But holiday season kicked off in earnest over the bank holiday weekend. Eoghan Corry, editor of Air and Travel magazine, is here to answer any niggling travel questions you have. You can continue to squeeze them into us lunchtime live at newstalk.com. Eoghan, how are you?
Not bad at all, Claire. We have to stop meeting like this.
I know, we do, or at least meet in some exotic location next time. I think that might be quite nice for radio and for us. We have Sean on the line for you, Eoghan. Sean, what's your question for Eoghan?
Just two things. First of all, I was wondering how long a visa to the United States, the holiday visa, lasts for. If you applied for one last November, is it 3 months, 6 months? You can go into a site, but I was putting in the application number, but it was saying the wrong application number coming up. It's just that someone belonging to me has gone out again and want to make sure that their visa is still intact. And also, I have another query on the actual getting the visa. But
will we answer question A first, perhaps, Eoghan?
Okay, Sean, it's very simple. Your ESTA, which is your visa waiver, it's not exactly a US visa, it's a visa waiver. It means that you don't require a visa, and that applies for 2 years. The Canadian one, which is the ETA, which is applies for 3, and it's a little bit cheaper. If you don't have an ESTA, it means that you're on a 10-year visa, which some people get. There are loads of reasons for getting a visa to the United States as a non-business visitor. It's a bit more expensive. You have to go to the embassy to get your interview. One of the reasons people have to get that is they've been to a country which isn't approved by the United States. Cuba was added to that list last summer. It caused a lot of problem for Irish people because it is a big holiday destination out of Ireland. If it's showing up, as I suspect, Sean, when you put in the number, there is a process. It's not exactly the US Embassy in Dublin. You do go through to a call line and they can check out the status of a visa if you have it. But generally, going to America, it's an online application and your ESTA lasts for 2 years. This is a really important point for consumers. It's a very complicated link. The best way to find that link is to go onto any of the airlines. Aer Lingus is the big one out of Ireland, but any of the airlines that fly transatlantic, and go from the airport homepage. It also stops you falling into an entrapment is the only word for it. When you Google US ESTA, you get lots of people who pay Google to land higher on the landing page than the official government site and charge you more for it. Look for an ESTA, go through the airline websites, because there's a lot of chancellors, internet chancellors out there, not entirely illegal because they say they're charging people for a service, but the reality is that the service costs about $15 from memory, but they charge a lot more for it.
Okay, interesting. And Sean, what about question 2?
Yeah, well, he's actually answered. Just on that first point, that means that your visa stays on your passport for the 2 years. It goes on your passport. I put it on my passport, and the other one.
Okay, I did answer saying that if it is a visa, not and you have a query about a visa, not the ESTA, because the ESTA is not on your passport. The ESTA, what will be on your passport is your immigration stamps. But if you have a query about your ESTA, there is a phone line you phone on the US Embassy website that applies to. It's not you don't phone the embassy in Dublin. You have to go through to a number elsewhere.
Yeah. No, I
tell you.
Okay,
status.
Sean, thank you very much. We wish you all the best with that, and thanks for that question. I want to get to some of the texts that are coming in for you, Eoghan. Kevin says, what are the sizes of bags now to carry on? Used to be 15 kg and second carry on 10 kg. With Ryanair, have they changed it?
The whole bag size thing has changed massively since the pandemic. Ryanair still have a policy where you bring your 10k bag on for it used to be free, but in a way they'll tell you it's still free, but you have to pay priority boarding. If you don't pay priority boarding, you're limited to effectively a laptop bag or a lady's handbag. Now, Aer Lingus have a different policy where they charge you to bring on board and you check in, put it into the hold, and that is free. So it varies between the two major airlines operating out of Ireland, and it obviously varies massively with all the other airlines in the business. 10k is not normal. Usually 8k is what you get on board for free with most airlines.
Yeah, and look, I got stung there recently. I assumed something you put in the hold was 20 kg and it wasn't, it was 10, so it's always worth checking. There's another one here about luggage, but this time lost luggage. A texter says, I'm due to travel to Italy for a wedding in June, but worried about luggage after a fiasco last summer. Anything I can do to be extra sure it arrives? I have to check a bag in, so hand luggage alone isn't an option. We don't want this person going to a wedding in a hotel robe. How can we guarantee the outfit arrives?
There's no way of guaranteeing the outfit will arrive. My very strong advice is don't pack anything that you're not prepared to lose, because we lost a lot of bags. Now, will the baggage situation get back to what it was pre-pandemic, where less than 2% of bags are delayed and very few are lost? I'm not absolutely certain we're in that position, because Heathrow has already said the problems of last summer will linger for another year. We also have massive problems in Amsterdam last year, massive problems in Toronto, and almost every connecting airport. What does appear to make a difference is the airline you travel on. Ryanair are pretty simple. They don't do transfers. If you use Stansted for a hub, you take your bag off, you put it back on again. That means they'll lose fewer bags. Easy for them to say because they're a point-to-point airline that doesn't transfer luggage. But from watching your wedding outfit, that's a really important point. Aer Lingus, if you're they handle their own baggage as well. They've less of a bag loss problem, but that was a bit of a problem last year for people transferring through Heathrow arriving in Dublin, especially Heathrow. That seems to be a bit of a black hole in terms of bags. If you're with some of the others, the baggage handling in Dublin Airport is directly employed by the two major airlines, Ryanair and Aer Lingus. The other airlines farm it off to two companies. I wouldn't have the same confidence that we won't have baggage issues in Dublin this summer.
We'll have to leave it there. Eoghan Corry, editor of Air and Travel magazine. Thank you very much for coming on.
Always a great pleasure, Claire.